Hi, I'm Gabe.
Hi, I'm Vashitta.
I'm Jaime. So last weekend was busy.
Yes.
There were women's marches everywhere.
Yes.
Which was very fun and exciting. So we were split in three. We went to three of the, what I think ended up being 6 across Ohio. There was
Were there really?
Because there was one, there were big ones in like Columbus, Cleveland, and Cincinnati, and Dayton. And we were in Columbus, Dayton, and Cleveland. So the other C, I almost said Cincinnati, not that one. And then there was an like associated march that kind of happened on Sunday in Toledo. It was like a unity march with the YWCA or YMCA or something. And then I think Athens and maybe like even like Nelsonville or something, like some other 2 little tiny ones happened in other places. So we had a good representation everywhere.
Ohio University had a march. The OU Post or the Athens Post talked about it. Sounded good. And the one in Toledo, it was, you're right, the YWCA, and we shared it, and I shared it on the Facebook page, and I thought, well, it's not, the YWCA, I'm never quite sure, how to position them in terms of, because they do women's programming, that's the YW. But then their national office put out like a really strong, bold statement, pro-choice statement. Oh yeah, they're totally pro-choice. Yeah, I was like, oh, this is great. So
I think the one in Toledo even like registered as like one of the official like sister marches from what I heard from the folks up there. And we did have a couple volunteers who went there with signs and stuff up there too. So so it was fun. We did a table in Columbus. I did the first part. She did the second part.
Yes.
With lots of people in Columbus.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think it went pretty well. When I got there, I was surprised by the amount of people that were there already. I mean, everyone was ready and equipped with signs and ready to march, and the atmosphere was just great. The mood was exactly where it needed to be, and I think it was a very successful march.
These were speeches inside the convention center.
Correct.
I didn't get to hear any of these because I was down at the State House waiting for like the end of the march. How did the speeches and how did the convention center part of the day go?
I didn't get to hear speeches either because I was tabling.
Okay.
That was happening.
The tabling went very well though. The convention center, I mean, like I said, it was a good amount of women, men, and children. So, I mean, the representation was there. The energy was there. We had so many supporters coming to our table, just thanking us for being here. Like, I don't know if they maybe didn't expect us, but they were just excited to see NARAL. And I'm like, yeah, we're here. We're not going anywhere. So, yeah, exactly. So from my perspective, it was great. How about yours?
Yeah, no, it went really well. I didn't see any of the speakers either, but the lineup was fabulous. A really good, diverse lineup of varying people and everything. And I liked how it really encompassed a lot of the issues. I know that there were the big speakers at the convention center, and then they did little short rally speakers. And I saw some of our amazing immigration activists, Ruben, talking about Edith, the woman who's in sanctuary in a church, in the Mennonite church in Clintonville, here in Columbus, and a lot of those issues that sometimes get shoved under the rug in a lot of these places. So I was really excited to really see the breadth and depth of all of the issues that they were looking at.
I was down at the State House waiting. The wind chill that morning was like bitter, but waited and met the march as it came downtown. And we've got a really terrific Facebook Live video. It's like an hour long. I didn't realize it was that long. I was literally like stopping by the State House on my way to the grocery store. And then I looked at it later and I was like, oh, wow, I shot an hour's worth of video. But so if people want to see the speeches at the State House, see the signs, see the marches, there were some people protesting the protest, some antis,
of course,
singing the hymns. And you'll see on our video that they're blocked by this massive sign by some friends of ours that says "Fragile Masculinity."
Who've been podcast guests before, actually, featured on this show. Hi, Michelle.
The Feminist Flag Corps did a great job of blocking that.
Yes,
I love
with
them.
a very accurate, very, very accurate fragile masculinity sign. So yeah, so that was
So
Columbus,
funny.
and then Kelly Freeman, an organizer, was there in Dayton,
Yes.
and gave a fabulous speech. So we'll put that in the show notes as well.
Yep.
You should totally check out that rally as well. It went really well. There was a packed house in the square where they had their little rally. It wasn't really a march; it was more just a rally in Dayton. So that was awesome.
Right. That video is from the Dayton Daily News Ohio Politics Facebook page. We found it, but it's again the full thing.
Yeah.
So if you want to see Kelly's speech, check out the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yay.
that was great.
Yeah. Then Pam did Cleveland.
Yes.
It looked like it was awesome too. So
Absolutely.
even when it was way colder up there.
Speeches in New York City, Washington D.C.
The
Cities
big
all
huge march
around.
was in Vegas this year.
Mhm.
Yeah, which I would have rather have been at.
Agreed.
Yeah. Looking around, where else should we go? Yeah, someplace warm. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, especially in light of the fact that, the government shut down like the day before. So DC
Right.
would have been really weird. I mean, they still did one in DC on Saturday, but it would have
Yes.
been probably a little bit more technically difficult to get everyone around DC with.
Right. Joyce Beatty, she was in Washington
Mhm.
because she was helping, work on the government shutdown to try and get things back up and running. But she posted a lot of pictures of her local office staff and volunteers. They had some really great pink Joyce Beatty hats here in Columbus.
Of course, she had
so
fashion because that's totally Joyce Beatty. I love
she's fabulous and I love her.
That is awesome.
But yeah, other members of Congress definitely, tweeted out support as they could from DC as they were working to reopen the government. I don't understand for the life of me that the Republicans tried to put the blame on the Democrats, but it's like you control the House, you control the Senate, you control the White House. Why on earth would anybody believe that the Democrats are the ones that are causing this problem?
Well, 35% of America will believe anything you say. So, there's that. I mean, they believe that the media is fake and Trump's the best thing ever and all this other bullshit. So, of course, they'll believe that. It's just the other 65% of us who, have thinking brains.
Right.
Absolutely.
Back open again. We'll see what happens in a couple of weeks. See if the Republicans actually hold up their end of the bargain.
Yeah, I mean, very unlikely, but I mean, it was a small shutdown, 3 days, so still had an effect, but
right.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Donald Trump has already rejected a bipartisan immigration fix, so
exactly.
I can see us very easily headed right back into a government shutdown. And on the 9th, I think is the day they gave or the 8th was somewhere in that period of time in February with the deadline. So
right. Yeah, a lot of the discussion was over DACA, the Dreamer kids. The other big issue that was discussed is CHIP, the Children's Health Insurance Program.
Right.
That has been, in an uncertain status since September. And the reason that we know about that is because Sherrod Brown has been talking about the importance of securing healthcare coverage for children since the very moment when Congress failed to reauthorize the program.
Yeah. And I think that was the one big win out of the shutdown because they did get reauthorized for a whole 6 years. So it's not another, we gave them 30 days or 4 days or whatever the heck they were thinking about. So,
right.
So, yeah. But I mean, they really need to fix immigration. If we don't fix this immigration problem, you hear day after day after day, another person's getting deported who has absolutely no reason to be deported from this country back to a country that they've never known or knew when they were 2. You can just imagine, living your entire life in a country and then being kicked out to a country that you may not even know the language for.
Right.
Exactly.
There was a doctor in Michigan whose parents brought him from like Poland or something. It was like an Eastern European country, and he lived in Columbus. He's a doctor. He had a permanent green card, and he's now being held in an ICE facility, faced with deportation because he had a misdemeanor.
A wife and 2 kids, I believe.
Yeah, and they're claiming it's because he has misdemeanor charges when he was 17, which isn't actually grounds for deportation. But they're now deporting this guy who is a doctor in Kalamazoo, Michigan, back to a country that
he's nowhere near familiar with.
Yeah.
Right.
So Democrats need to get on that and force that issue because, you can't ignore these people and the struggle of these people. And they just keep getting shoved. Well, we got CHIP. That's great. But we need to protect these people.
Right.
So yeah, get on that.
Yes.
Yes.
I look at the entire immigration thing, and it's just so ignorant and insulting. I look at my own family history. I was born in Ohio. My parents were born in Ohio. Their parents were born in Ohio. But you don't have to go back another couple generations. And pretty soon they were born in Ireland. They were born in Germany. They came here. They made their way to Ohio. They cleared the woodlands. They made the fields. The entire, agricultural backbone of this state is due to the hard work of immigrants who came to this country.
That's true.
And if you're saying that those immigrants are bad, then you're kind of saying that my ancestral immigrant heritage is bad. And, that's pretty insulting
as well. Yeah.
We're not that old of a population.
No. I agree.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's the same, why are all these poor people coming to the United States? We need the rich people from all the other countries to make America
my
great.
Were poor. That's
exactly.
Why they were clearing fields in Putnam County, Ohio. This wasn't a wealthy paying job. Literally drain this swamp.
Yes.
And, plant a cornfield here.
Yeah. So, these are the
low paying gig of the 1880s,
We've seen this debate over and over and over again, no matter who the immigrants are. We think about, all those white people who immigrated were fabulous. Well, not actually. They were called all kinds of names that we don't speak out loud any longer because they were unwanted poor people coming to this country, and they built this country, and immigrants continue to build this country
and contributed greatly to this country. So
yeah, I mean, so it's so annoying. So fix it. Stop being jerks. Those are words I can say on the radio.
Yes.
Racist jerks.
Racist jerks.
Okay, so we talked about the women's marches and the government shutdown. Trump yesterday, there was some great audio on Rachel Maddow where apparently he just walked down the hallway in the White House right into a gaggle of reporters, and they just started asking him questions, and he just started answering them. Apparently, he's promised to go under oath when he talks to Bob Mueller, which everyone was like, "What?"
Right?
And now he's in Davos, Switzerland, and he's never coming home.
Right. Somebody put a great question on Twitter and noticed that nobody, even though there's been opportunities to ask him questions, nobody's asked him, hey, Mr. President, did you actually have an affair with Stormy Daniels?
Dun, dun, dun.
Personally, it's because nobody cares.
Exactly.
And it's actually, it's a distraction. I don't care. I mean, yeah, he's a crappy human being. I can't say the words I want to say on the radio. For having an affair, what was it, days, weeks after his son was born?
Yeah. It's the amount of time that Aaron Trump has been on this planet.
Yes. I mean, it was within, a month of his youngest son being born. And he's an awful human, but we knew this is at least consensual. At a minimum, let's continue to be pissed off about all these sexual assaults he did.
Okay,
we assume it was
my
consensual.
question is, are people more upset about the actual fact that he had an affair or that he tried to pay her off? Or paid her off $130,000 or whatever? I guess that remains to be known, which people are more upset about.
I don't think people are upset about either of them. That's why it's not getting coverage. It's so not a story. I mean, there are 5 million...
Just got a little coverage.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot.
But think about all the other, instances of misconduct and affairs and, infidelity and bad behavior by elected officials. And
that's what the problem is.
Swept under the rug.
Exactly.
But it's not sweeping.
We're going through a transformation right now where we're trying to actually hold those who are in office accountable.
But I don't think we are. We just don't care. We really just don't care. There are so many other reasons that he's a bad, god-awful human being that this just doesn't rise.
That actually affects our lives.
When the Lewinsky stuff came up about Bill Clinton, he hadn't had a torrid history of 5 million other things he had already done. This was kind of the
they tried to impeach him.
Yeah.
Did impeach.
In fact, impeach him.
Yes. Overturned.
Over lying about what the definition of and was or whatever our favorite line from the 90s was. It's just...
there were lots of calls for Al Franken to resign based on behavior of his own from before he was in the Senate. And I agreed with, those people that said, hey, this is inappropriate behavior. We're changing things.
Yes. Yeah. If we kicked every legislator out that had affairs, there would not be legislators.
And then we could bring in some new ones.
Why are people so okay with attacking one and not the other?
I don't think it's actually,
the president obviously should be held to a much higher standard anyway.
Definitely. I just don't think that from the people I talk to, it's that like, why do we care about this consensual affair that he had more than grabbing women by the, whatevers and the actual sexual assaults that he's been accused of? Like, yes, he shouldn't actually even be questioned. I mean, we shouldn't even have him as a president. He should not have won with all of these things happening. And yes, he should resign because of these things, which he's never going to do. And Congress should impeach him because of all of these things. This is just really, I think it really hasn't, why I'm saying is like, it hasn't gotten the coverage because when you look at all the other crap we already know about this guy, it's like, yeah, fair. Like, are you surprised by that?
Add it to the list.
Add it to the list. And it probably doesn't even rise into the like top 10 craziest crap that he's done this week.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean,
Michael Steele, the former head of the RNC, had a rant. He was on MSNBC, and he was talking about not Trump, but the evangelical pastors who have been supporting Trump. And he's got a great soundbite. He's like, you just need to shut up. Don't ever preach, about anything to me ever again if you're going to support this guy.
Yeah.
So I think there is the value of really exposing hypocrisy amongst Trump supporters.
Oh yeah. I mean, he spoke at the March for Life. I mean, you want to talk about the crazy stuff Donald Trump says and does? Like he that talked via video feed to the March for Life last week and said, you're all going to find this really shocking, that a woman in the United States today can go 9 full months and then give birth in every state in this country. We need to put a stop to that. And then the whole march clapped and cheered.
No one scratched their heads.
Nobody went,
what?
Isn't that how it's supposed to work? Aren't we supposed to be pregnant for 9 months? It's actually really closer to 10. It's 40 weeks for any woman who's been pregnant. Complains about that one. Right. But like, that's what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to be pregnant for 9 months and then give birth. That's I think you're supposed to say another word there, dude. But like, they weren't even listening to the words. They were just clapping and cheering because he was speaking words out of his mouth.
Very often.
Yeah. So, I think the real highlight is like looking at the groups and the people who are still supporting this person after all of these things and saying, what is wrong with you that you can't see, that you are so obsessed with banning abortion that you're willing to ignore the fact that he sexually assaulted. He walked into like the young Miss American, like underage girls' dressing room while they were getting dressed. I mean, if you are pro-life, you should care about that.
Exactly.
So it's just, I think Michael Steele hit that nail right on the head on that one.
Yeah, he did. Moving from one scandal to the other, Larry Nassar was sentenced to
175 freaking years.
Yes, all of the years. The judge did terrific.
Yes,
so amazing.
Saying that she'd signed his death warrant.
I loved it.
She did, her job.
She kind of tossed his paper over to the side instead of reading it. When he, kind of spoke about how hard it was to listen to all the testimonies.
Cry me a river.
Right. Yeah. You're not fooling anyone. So
the
I think
president
justice was served.
Yes. The president of Michigan State last night resigned her position because of failure to adequately investigate and stop this because a lot of these programs were going through Michigan State University. All the warning signs were there.
Some of the girls actually spoke up to several different people. And they were kind of told either this will be bad for both of you guys, or do you really want to bring this attention on you right now? They were really deterred from, going forward with the allegations that they were bringing forth.
Yeah. Well, I think it really goes along with, I heard some of the gymnasts speaking to this. I don't know if it was in their statements or if it was just in media interviews, but they really went to this whole infantilization of gymnasts, that they're supposed to be just the cute little girls and they're supposed to be quiet and they're supposed to be well behaved.
Yeah.
and controlled.
Yeah.
And, and that really just fed into this whole thing of, I'm not allowed to talk up. I'm not allowed to speak up. I'm just supposed to be this silent little girl who performs perfectly for you. Even though some of these, athletes are 20 years old, we, infantilize them into these cute little girls in pigtails. And it's an interesting kind of piece of this whole thing that kind of let it fester and fester and fester
for as long as it did.
Yeah. Well, what you were just speaking to is actually the opinion that my wife brought up. So if you don't like this opinion, don't blame me, but I'm going to repeat it. She said the entire sport of gymnastics is basically, put some glitter on your hair and your body and then put on the skin tight outfit and then go roll around on the floor with your legs spread. And so that the nature of the sport lends itself to sexualizing girls. And I know because, my sister took gymnastics that this does start at like age 4. You're talking about infantilizing
My daughter
women.
started at like 18 months. Yeah. So yeah, they start early.
Right. So, I don't want to, condemn gymnastics because there are girls that this is an entry point to athletics. There is value to this.
Yeah.
The Ohio State University probably has some really proud, terrific student athletes that are doing gymnastics as a legit sport.
Absolutely.
But it's such a fine line there between athletics and just that inappropriate show of girls that I think if you're a coach, especially if you're a parent, looking out for the signs of inappropriate behavior has got to be absolutely critical. I mean, that's the case with any sport. And, we've heard about swimmers who have had coaches that have, assaulted them. That's horrible. But
yeah, I think a lot of the gymnasts too, who actually take it to the next level, some of them actually move away from home. So that makes it even harder to kind of see the signs or even just, be able to protect your child because they're no longer with you. You want them to capture their dream and do what they love. But then there's that flip side of it. Like, what if this happens? And it does happen.
Right. And that's not to blame the parents for what
definitely
this doctor did.
Not blaming the parents at all. It's just,
but the entire thing needs an overhaul.
Nobody's expecting to send their child away to be, sexually assaulted at all, Unfortunately, you have people like Larry who is a sick person.
Yeah.
Right. Well, my wife's a social worker, so her first thought is if we send her kids away, there might be somebody there looking to sexually. She is on the lookout.
I don't blame her. I'm the same way. So.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, he's going to jail for the rest of his life. She said she's signing his death warrant as she sentenced him yesterday.
Right.
We've seen Michigan State's president resign. USA Gymnastics has cut all their ties with the Karolyi Ranch because it was that program that sent most of, if not all of these girls to this doctor. And
Bella Karolyi is the new Joe Paterno of the gymnastics world.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see, where they do go from this and how they do grow. And, I think parents are going to be, but I think, because we all like to think, I'm protecting my kid, I hope that it doesn't become this like, well, my kid's a swimmer instead of gymnastics, so it's fine. Like, I don't have to worry. Like, I really hope that, we can really kind of change this culture universally because we do kind of segment these things out. And, and I hope USA Gymnastics also doesn't do that. Well, we cut ties with Karolyi Ranch and Masters in jail and, these other things happen. So we're fine. We don't need to do anything else. I think there are a lot of former USA Gymnastics athletes who are going to hopefully continue to push them to do the right thing and everything. But it was really powerful to see the power in all of those women coming forward and telling their stories. That a lot of them were doing it for the first time and felt comfortable doing it because there were 60 or 80 other women also giving their victim impact statements to the same court, and being heard and being believed by this judge, I think, is also another really good first step towards creating the culture we need for people to be able to be to speak out and be believed and not let this fester for the years and years and years and years and years that it did.
Right. Yeah.
So
Okay.
hopefully good things will come out of very, very, very bad things.
Yeah. So rotten hell, Larry Nassar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The next thing on the
Also known as
agenda.
a solitary confinement cell, I'm assuming.
I'm kind of thinking he may try to attempt suicide. Most people,
Oh,
like
I'm
him,
sure he's going to
they
be on
can't
suicide
deal
watch.
with this, and they take the easy route out. So,
Yeah,
like you said, may he rest in hell. Moving on.
Okay. So the last week's show was Kelly Freeman talking with some comedians. Before that was a show of just our staff. We discussed candidates for governor. I thought we'd take another round at that since it's been a couple weeks. Again, just to reiterate the main point that we emphasized at that time, nothing that we're saying here is an endorsement of any kind. Endorsements are something issued by our board. It's literally above our pay grade. So while we might say nice things or bad things about it, these are just personal opinions. We're even going to try and stay away from opinions.
Yes, no opinions.
But we do just want to, kind of update people on candidates for governor. So starting with the Republican side, since that's just what comes up first on this Wikipedia article. Mike DeWine is still running with John Husted as a running mate.
The only all-male ticket for
the only all-male ticket.
All white male governor.
Yeah,
ticket for governor.
Here we'll get into the opinions. Mike DeWine's not a good person. You should not vote for Mike DeWine.
That is a fact.
Has a terrible years-long record of destroying abortion access here in the state through direct action of his office as Attorney General. So, Mike DeWine is somebody that we are actively campaigning against.
Yes.
He's not good.
For many reasons.
Many reasons.
Right. Mary Taylor is running against him. So there's really just two candidates for governor now in the race. Her running mate is a businessman with an anti-choice, not voting record. He doesn't vote, but has made statements against abortion rights. Nathan Estruth. Yes. Mary Taylor was just in the Dispatch yesterday. There was an article talking about how she claims that she hasn't talked to John Kasich in over a year. She's kind of saying that as like a point of pride. I'm like, you're the lieutenant governor. And you haven't talked to the governor in a year, and you're saying this is a good thing? I don't get it.
I don't either.
Is she just not doing her job?
Right.
Like,
if I could talk to my boss in a year, I wouldn't be employed.
Yeah, that seems very weird.
She just doesn't want to be tagged with Kasich because the base of the Republican Party doesn't like John Kasich right now. So
she was his running mate in 2 consecutive elections. There's no way that you get rid of the Kasich tag.
She's trying hard.
She's trying to make that separation.
Apparently.
I mean, the guy she picked for a running mate is a darling of the Tea Partiers too. So she's definitely trying to snake out that part of the base now that Renacci is out and running for Senate.
Right. Renacci is out running for Senate, replacing Josh Mandel, who stepped aside because of family health issues.
Yes.
I had $10 on Renacci taking this spot. So.
Yes, I do. Oh, Gabe. Actually, no. Jaime and Kelly, because Gabe said give it to you guys. He owes you guys money.
We're just passing cash on the office. So Renacci running against Sherrod Brown. Sherrod Brown being the guy that NARAL has endorsed like every other time because
he's amazing.
Amazing person.
So
he even tweeted out an amazing picture on the anniversary of Roe, which we have left off the podcast. The 45th anniversary of Roe happened this week, just a minor detail. But he actually tweeted out a picture in memory of that with our organizer Kelly from last year while she was still pregnant with her baby, commemorating that. So that was awesome this week too.
That was
right. So NARAL National will be making endorsements for the U.S. Senate race. They have not endorsed anything,
but they have in the past. So
Sherrod Brown, baby. Okay, so moving over to the Democratic side,
which is a lot.
Yes, there's many
people.
Again, we're not endorsing in any of these. Richard Cordray is running with Betty Sutton as a running mate. Richard Cordray is the former director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and former Attorney General. Betty Sutton is a former member of Congress, so they're running together. Dennis Kucinich, we didn't talk about him last time. He is
Okay.
now in the race, former member of Congress, former presidential candidate.
Perennial,
Yes.
like Rand Paul-esque.
Yes.
The presidential
That was going to be
candidate.
my exact comparison.
Earned him the Amy Poehler.
Which there is no video of. Like they
We're
have
searching.
a listing for the archive because
To
it's
be
a really
continued.
great Amy Poehler impression. Like it's I love Amy Poehler in so many things, but she did a really good Dennis Kucinich. So we're gonna have to find it. But I can find like the listing in their archive, but no link to the video. So
Right.
I'm gonna have to find that.
Mr. Kucinich's running mate is Tara Samples. She's an Akron City Councilwoman.
Okay.
So Bill O'Neill is a current justice of the Ohio Supreme Court. His running mate is Chantel Lewis. She's an elementary school principal and former East Cleveland City Councilwoman. And I think we can note Bill O'Neill, today is Thursday the 25th. Tomorrow is the day that he is announced to be his last day serving on the state Supreme Court.
Yes, because he's not technically supposed to be a candidate for governor and on the court at the same time, which also means, on a side note, that we will hear from, I think Kasich actually said that today or tomorrow he would announce who the replacement will be for him. By him stepping off the Supreme Court, it will mean that all 7 of the Ohio Supreme Court justices will be Republicans in the state of Ohio. He was the only Democratic member.
Yes. Connie Pillich. We talked about Ms. Pillich last time. She was a former state representative. She now has a running mate, Scott Schertzer. He's the mayor of Marion. So Connie Pillich is from the Cincinnati area, and Marion is up north. So that's sort of a north-south pairing of candidate and running mate. And then Joe Schiavone is a state senator and former minority leader of the Ohio Senate. His running mate is Stephanie Dodd. She is on the State Board of Education currently.
Yes.
So it also lists on Wikipedia a candidate named Dave Kiefer, former Wayne County Commissioner, and Republican candidate for state rep in 2016. Haven't heard anything about Mr. Kiefer.
Yes.
Don't know. It's a valid thing. Yeah.
Did you guys talk about the 2 who withdrew? Nan Whaley and Betty Sutton, obviously, to become the running mate for Richard Cordray.
And Nan Whaley, again, we should emphasize, the mayor of Dayton is really awesome.
Yes.
So we love Nan Whaley.
Yes.
So that's the race as it stands.
I'm kind of interested in wondering if the race doesn't go Bill O'Neill's way, what will he do next?
I mean, he's really going to be in the same position he was, because he's going to get kicked off the court this year anyway, because he's too old to run again. Gotcha. We've got, you don't have age limits for, people like the president who can launch nuclear weapons, but we have age limits on Supreme Court justices. So he was too old to run again for Supreme Court. So who knows what he'll do? Retire. Go away. I don't know.
Okay. To be continued. And so then the last thing we're going to talk about before we get to upcoming events is the Oscars. The nominations were announced. You want to talk about Lady Bird?
I forgot her name already again.
Greta Gerwig.
So, yeah. So unlike the Golden Globes, the director of Lady Bird did actually get a Best Director nomination. Greta, what did you say? Gerwig. I keep forgetting her name. Was not nominated. She was totally snubbed. Even though Lady Bird won for Best Comedy / Musical in the Golden Globes, she could not win Best Director because she wasn't nominated. So she got nominated. She's only she was the first woman nominated in Best Director in the last 8 or 9 years for the Oscars, and she's only one of a handful of women who've ever been nominated for Best Director in the Oscars. So. Right. I mean, it's sad that we're there, but then you just remember that Viola Davis was the first Black woman, and she was last year, the year before last. I mean, it's interesting that Hollywood kind of prides itself on these this liberal bastion of wonderfulness, but they kind of really suck when it comes to actually giving a variety of people big, huge awards. It's always white men.
Right. Well, supposedly they were changing that and trying to be more diverse, the nominating committee. So, yeah.
Sure.
Catherine Bigelow is the female Best Director winner.
Yes. Only one. Yes. And in what year was it?
That was for the Hurt Locker. I don't have the year in front of me. So
No, that was not too long. She was probably the last one nominated.
Yeah,
because that was probably about like 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah. So
sad that it's been that long.
Linda Wertmuller was nominated for a film in 1976 called Seven Beauties. Jane Campion was nominated for The Piano. So it's a very short list here.
Short, yeah.
Of women nominated for director.
Yeah.
So, and that was a point during the Golden Globes because they brought out Barbra Streisand, and she had won a Golden Globe for Best Director, but that was back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And so she came out and she's like, I can't believe there's nobody, because they'd said it over the loudspeaker, and she's like, did you hear that?
They're all dudes.
Nobody. Yeah. So, that's
we still have a long way to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also up for Best Director is Jordan Peele. He made Get Out.
So for fans out there like Gabe and I,
right, we're gonna discuss spoilers. So mute your listening device for like a minute or so if you don't want to hear spoilers and Get Out. So ready, 3, 2, 1, mute. It was a great movie.
It was an awesome movie. Like, I heard so much about it before I watched it, but when I watched it, I was like stung. I was just kind of stunned. I'm like, the end of it was just, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the premise of it was like white people were taking black people to make them like them, but you still wanted that person to be black. You just wanted them to act like you, like a white person. Is that what you got out of it?
Yeah. I knew that there was it was billed as a horror movie, right?
Yes.
So you knew that there was just gonna be some crazy mind twist here. But I was expecting like a little one, not like a massive, and this is
shattering.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think this is Jordan Peele's statement that he's making.
He made a very large.
There isn't like a bad guy.
Loud statement. Yeah.
What? White supremacy exists?
Yeah. I mean, and it really well made too, Stanley Kubrick, Alfred Hitchcock, yes. These are the sort of styles of filmmaking that he's definitely in the same vein of here.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
I don't know that he's going to win Best Director, but he would definitely deserve it if he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's an ending. We don't want to give away the ending, but
yeah.
Where
just in case Jamie wants to go see it, hint, hint.
It's on the list. It just hasn't happened yet.
There's a split second in the ending where everybody watching that suddenly visualizes.
That's what I've heard from like everyone that's seen it, that you like, it just clicks in your brain.
It does.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
And you're like, whoa.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Highly recommended.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the Gabe and Vashitta 2 thumbs up. So
yeah, and I'm the only one that's seen it so far. But 3 Billboards was also amazing. It was really interesting because it gets billed as a very simple movie, and it's so just not. It's like not. I mean, it's about these billboards, 3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
Oh.
So the premise is that this woman's daughter was raped and murdered, and like set on fire. I mean, it was a horrific crime. Yikes. And there was really just no evidence. So there's been no movement in the case in like 7 months. So she drives by these 3 like falling apart billboards that nobody's put an ad on since like 1980, because like in a lot of our small towns, we built a big, huge freeway and nobody ever goes down this little small state route anymore. So, So she goes up and like tries to buy these billboards, and the guy, lets her rent these billboards. So she basically calls out the chief of police on the billboards for, I think the first one was like raped and set on fire while murdered, but still no arrests. Why not Chief Willoughby? Or like the 3 messages on these billboards. And like most small towns, like everyone has an opinion about everything. And, so it's a very complex movie about how small towns work and just like humanity in general. It was a very interesting movie, and I feel like a lot deeper and more complex than I was expecting it to be. I mean, it's definitely not like a let's go see a great movie and feel all great and happy. That's not the movie you want to see in that mood, but like it was a really, really, really good movie.
Maybe something to look out for sure.
Yeah. So looking forward to the Oscars.
Mhm.
Okay, so the last thing we want to talk about is our upcoming events.
Yes.
On January 31st, we've got our Road Together 2.0 in Columbus.
Yes.
What's happening then?
So we're basically, so it's a lunch and learn. So from noon to 2 on the 31st, free childcare, free lunch. So if you've got kids and need somebody to watch them for you to be able to come, register, and tell us you're bringing your kids so we can make sure we've got enough folks to take care of them. And we're going to talk about kind of what's going on in the state of Ohio, and then also then what, how we can have conversations about abortion amongst friends and family and those kind of things, based on a National Networks of Abortion Funds kind of conversation guide. So it should be a really great kind of push from last year's kind of take these small little actions kind of trainings this year. One big, huge training on how we have these conversations better.
Right. So that's going to be Wednesday, January 31st at noon, First Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbus. Event information, registration, tickets are free, but please do register in the show notes.
Yes.
So
We need everybody to register to be able to come. So
Do I have to register?
yes, we need all staff to register too. So. Need to get that.
Okay, so February 4th at Holy Craft in Columbus, Kelly Freeman's doing another Crafternoon.
Yes.
This has now become her monthly standing craft event.
Yes.
Should be cool.
So all crafters, listen up.
Yes.
Join her.
February 8th in Cleveland is their Row Together 2.0, taking advocacy to the next level. So similar program to what you just described.
Yeah, I think they're going to have some legislators and some other folks kind of talking about best practices and those kind of things. So yeah.
Right. Thursday, February 8th, 6:30 p.m., Trinity Cathedral in Cleveland. Register, links in the show notes. And then we've got February 20th, Columbus Stand Up for Choice. We're the beneficiaries of this go around. This was the subject of last week's podcast at Ace of Cups, February 20th. Doors open at 7:30 for a comedy show there. Should be good. And then it's not yet on our event calendar, but has just been scheduled. Annual Lobby Day on April 10th.
Yes. So our annual Coalition Freedom of Choice Ohio Advocacy Day will be on February 10th. And we'll kind of be themed after a lot of the Row Together events and, you know, storytelling and sharing our stories and why and how bills like these aren't just legislation that is passed in the state house and goes nowhere. It's things that impact the lives of families in our state.
Right.
It'll be very fun.
Okay.
And then also stay tuned for, you know, state house updates, because we didn't have any hearings this week, so we didn't talk about it, but we very well could see movement on any of the bills that frequent listeners have been hearing about at any time. So stay tuned.
Right. Okay. We'll see everybody next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.